Just went to my P.O. box and I picked up my new inverter from Windy Nation. You might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't you just install a Ramsond? Yes, I did. It's right here, but I have a problem. Before I even go into what the problem is, this thing has only been installed in my van for maybe a month and a half, 2 months, because I did all this new stuff with the new batteries and all that on my van before I did Lydia's camper. So I worked on my van for about 2 weeks, then I worked on Lydia's camper for maybe about 2-3 weeks, and so this has only been in here for maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And I've only used it a few times. I've had this inverter for just over a year, but the problem was I didn't install it. I bought it in April of 2017, and then I knew that eventually I was going to change maybe the batteries or do the something like the Sterling battery to battery charger like I have. I was going to do something like that, so I kept postponing just replacing the other inverter and putting this one on. In hindsight, that's what I should have done, because now it's out of warranty. So there's nothing I can do about it. But here's the problem with it. When I turn this thing on, I have the little remote here that's wireless. It costs an extra $50 for that. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but when I turn that on, my inverter turns on. I don't know if you can see that, the little blue light. It charges my electronics fine. It charges batteries for the camera, my computer, perfectly fine. But there's something going on with it. And here's how I found out. A few weeks ago, I was doing a live giveaway video. I had this phone plugged in like I have now, and I went to look at the live comments, and all of a sudden, I'm doing a video over here, all this noise. All of a sudden, I go to touch the screen and I couldn't do anything. It was frozen. I'm like, darn it, this phone's just giving me problems all of a sudden. So I couldn't do anything. Then eventually, I disconnected the phone and I'm like, oh, now it works. And then I'm like, why wasn't it working before? And then I plugged my other phone in there. This was after the live YouTube event was over. And that phone was giving me problems too. I'm like, what's going on here? I plug it into my 12-volt system and I'm having problems. And at the same time, I had my inverter on because I was charging my computer. So I'm like, why is that on? And then, so anyway, to make a long story short, little by little, you know, within a day or two, I realized really quickly, I realized that I was having this problem whenever I had my inverter turned on. So now I'm thinking, there's got to be some back feed here somehow. But there shouldn't be. And when I plug in this new inverter, okay, I will prove or disprove that there's no back feed, that there's no issue with my wires, because basically you just have two wires, a positive and a negative. Positive goes from the positive on the inverter to the positive on the batteries with a fuse in between. And the negative goes from the negative on the inverter to the negative on the batteries. That's it. So there should be no back feed from the inverter back to my batteries affecting the stuff that's connected to the 12-volt system. Now, it never affected my lights. I had my lights on and I didn't see any flickering or anything. Nothing happened. Just with my phones, I couldn't do anything with the phone. And the other day, I decided to watch a movie, so I connected my phone to my TV. So I turned the inverter on, which powers the TV, turned the TV on, connected my phone to the TV, and then all of a sudden, the phone was just like flickering between, you know when you press play and then that play button and that information disappears right after like a second or so, and then if you touch the screen it comes back and you can pause and do all that. That kept coming in and out, appearing and disappearing, all on its own. And then it was fast forwarding on the video, and then it would fast forward a few seconds, then a few minutes, then all the way to the end. And if I just try to go on an app, I would click and nothing would happen, and then the phone would start doing its thing all on its own. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't know what's going on. So then I did a search on YouTube for maybe some similar problems, and I came across a fellow, I don't remember his YouTube name, that I think he was a homesteader or something like that. Somebody who had bought this same type of inverter, the Ramsond 50. He had the Ramsond 3000. I have the one below that. I have the 1500 watt with 3000 peak. He was having issues with his, I guess. And then he had one of these devices. I forget what it's called. It's I can't remember the name. One of those devices that it's like a little TV screen. You can connect that to different electronics, and then it gives you the wave, or it gives you a reading of whatever it is that you're looking at. He was reading it from his house, from the electricity that comes from the street, and that had a nice wave like that. So this is the wave that you want for basically like the pure sine. Pure sine imitates the electricity that you get in a house. So the waveform is the same. It should be the same. If you have a modified sine inverter, then it's square. Basically the waveform, instead of being like this nice wave, it's basically square, you know. But my other inverter, and I never had any issues like that, and it was a modified sine. Never had any issues with any electronics. So the guy connected that to the house, and he had a nice wave, and then he connected to the Ramsond inverter. And the wave, instead of being a nice wave, it was still the wave there, but then it was a whole lot of stuff in between in a wave. So what he was saying was that it was a dirty output. The power was very dirty. It was not a pure sine. It was dirty. I think that's the problem. Most likely that's the problem that I'm having. It's not an installation issue. If it is, once I install this, I will find out if it's an installation issue, but most likely it isn't. So we'll see once I install this. Now this inverter, it's still brand new. I've only used it half a dozen times probably. I will be giving it away. I don't know if anyone wants it. It does power everything up. It just I'm having the issues with, you know, when I plug it in. I mean, yeah, you know, if you want to run tools and stuff, I guess it's okay. I mean, it runs my coffee grinder, no issues. It charges up my toothbrush with no issues. It charges up my camera batteries with no issues. The drone's batteries with no issues. So I don't have issues charging those things. It's just when I connect it to the TV and I plug in my phone to that, I'm having issues. And when it's on and then I connect to 12 volt, I have issues. So having said that, keep an eye out for a video coming soon where I'm going to give this away. Yeah, so with a disclosure that there's these problems, but it's still a brand new inverter. So I've already talked too much. Let me go install this thing, and hopefully the issue is the inverter and not my my setup. This is the same inverter that I got for Lidia, and the one that Lidia got, the remote came in pieces, so we had to order another one. That was a good thing because I called them up, they knew about the problem, and they immediately shipped me a new one. This one looks like it's in a box. It might be intact. Oh no, it doesn't come in a box. It's loose just like the other one, but it seems to be, the bag is ripped. I don't know why they don't put this in something that protects this thing. It seems to be in one piece. The drawback is that I'm going to have to drill another hole up here, but that's no big deal. It's a small hole. Here's a few cables that I'm not going to need, but I'll keep. Maybe I'll give them away with the other inverters. From what I remember and from the measurements that I saw online, it's about the same size as this other one. It's a little longer than the other one, but it fits my space. It's about an inch longer. Something so simple as replacing one inverter with another one becomes a job for over an hour. You would think it's so simple, but first of all, I have a small space. This is tight. Second of all, this inverter here comes with a positive on this side and the negative on this side. The other inverter has the positive on the other side and the negative over here. Now I left these cables big enough to move around a little bit, but they're not that big, and these are 40 gauge, so these cables are hard to bend, so I can't bend them like I would bend something smaller like this, like a 6 gauge. Not only the negatives are opposite, the stud where the bolt goes in, on this one it's horizontally, on the other one it was vertically. So if this one was vertically like the other ones, then this could go sideways like this, because it would fit, you know, the bolt would go from the top down or from the bottom up, and this would lay more or less flat. But because the bolt is sideways, now this has to go in like this so that the bolt can go through it. Every single thing is different, opposite of the other one. So a little job becomes a big job. Before I start drilling any holes up here to install this remote, I just turned the inverter on. I plugged in my 110 for the TV. I have my phone plugged into my 12 volt. So far I'm having no issues using the phone, and this is the problem I was having before. Somehow it was backfeeding into my 12 volt system. Okay, this seems like I can work this fine. I can go online, scroll. Okay, now let's connect. Ow! I don't have a high top, as you noticed. Let me turn the TV on. I gotta hold this up here so I can have some service. Let's hope this works. I plugged in. I can move my videos around. Hey, it's working. It's not doing what it was doing before. It's working. It's working. Now it works. I was a little nervous for a while. I knew that I did nothing wrong with my system. I didn't wire anything the wrong way. The problem is that inverter. New inverter, no problem. I'm gonna get the drill, put a hole up there, put this in place. Done. A fool does not delight in understanding, but only in revealing his own mind. Proverbs 18:2.